right. Welcoming you to chair yoga today. Um, I'd like to do a little check-in with you. Whether you're here live or practicing with the recording, you can do this with me. So just coming into your present moment as fully as you can and taking your own temperature, right? We're going to be listening to our bodily wisdom and intuition today. Something I've been trying to hone and realize that my body has a lot to tell me in moments of stress. And if I can pay attention to my body in these moments, I can recognize when I'm stressed, and then I can kind of stop that stress cycle from continuing, or I can move through it in a different way. So I just want to check in with you and see what your energy and your stress levels are like today. Okay, so we're going to, I realize this is imprecise, but we're going to come up with a number that might illustrate what our energy level is like. So 1 being low energy and 10 being high energy. And you can hold up on your hands or just think this number internally to yourself, right, of what your energy level might be like today and seeing how we're all doing. And know that this is optional. You don't have to do this if this is not something you want to share with me. But it does help me. Okay, good, good. So we have a nice range of energy levels. And by the way, I want to just say that whatever state of being you're in, you are welcome in this class. Okay, so moving into stress levels, right? Without trying to bring stress into the equation. Just a quick read from 1 to 10, 1 being low stress and 10 being pretty high stress today. Seeing how we're feeling, on 1 or 2 hands, right? Okay, that's good. I know, I like that. Haywoods are checking in with each other. Okay, good. Person. All right. So that gives me a good indication of how you're doing. And it seems like we have some stress to manage, and so I'll be attending to that in our class as well. Stress, my friends, is something that accounts for 75 to 90% of the reason behind doctor's visits, and that can contribute to the 6 main reasons that Americans, the 6 highest causes of death in America. Stress is a huge part of those reasons. So, we do our exercise, we eat right, but on that wheel of health, healthy things to do, stress management is a huge part of what we should be attending to. And so luckily our yoga classes can help do that by stimulating the rest, digest, and heal side of our nervous system, right? So we can come back into balance. Let's get started with some breath awareness. And if you're high energy today and you want to move around a little bit before we do this, that's totally up to you. I'm going to start by just finding my feet on the earth, right? Or if I'm seated, finding my seat on the ground, right? And if you're, yeah, that's good, Ted. Just getting settled here. And noticing right away if there's any discomfort in the body. Is there something that you can do to find a little equilibrium in the body? Maybe there's an itch you need to scratch or a yawn that needs to be yawned. And then we'll come to this upright posture. So many of us suffer from low back tenderness. So for me, as I sit at my desk, or even in meditation sometimes in an upright seated chair posture, I like to squeeze a block between my legs. If this doesn't feel comfortable for you, don't do it. This might be a way to manage some of the low back tenderness by bringing more awareness to the core that can support us, right? And also so that we don't keep crossing our legs, which is something I am guilty of while I'm seated. And that can contribute. So coming to this upright posture and finding, just beginning to tune in to your body. Tuning into the body in the surroundings in the room that you're in. And tuning into the breath, finding the breath moving in through the nostrils, and perhaps today out through the mouth that feels comfortable for you. Inhaling through the nose, exhaling nose or mouth. Finding a few clearing, cleansing breaths. Just noticing what the breath feels like for you today without trying to judge it or place a label. Just coming to the direct experience of your breath. So if you're congested, you can always take some sips of air through the mouth. Perhaps now allowing the breath to move into the body, feeling the breath moving into the body, maybe the chest, maybe the ribs, and maybe even the belly. Finding the breath all the way in the belly area and giving yourself permission to have a soft, full belly, full of air, so that we can experience a deeper, more efficient breath. But I want to underline the breath should be comfortable for you. And then from here, friends, we're going to take some bees breaths together. Bees breath is a wonderful way to extend our exhalation, which can activate that side of the nervous system that will help us kind of come back into homeostasis if we're in a stress response. So let's do 5 bees breaths, inhaling through the nose and exhaling, creating a humming sound with the mouth closed. Know that if you do this and it doesn't feel right, you can just come back to normal breathing. Breathing in. And maybe one more. Bringing hands together at heart center, the eyes softly gazed or closed. We just bring in our mind's eye the rest of our practitioners and our fellow yogis in the class today or on the recording, watching later. And knowing that we are all together in this practice, creating a group or even a satsang, all here for a similar purpose, to find balance, to find well-being, and perhaps today to just begin to trust our body's wisdom. All right, guys, thank you so much for taking the next 45 minutes with me, or whatever we have left of the class, to take care of yourselves. I'm just rubbing my hands together, creating a little warmth, and rolling the wrists a few times. So some of my students who are managing various things, right? We're all managing something, have asked me the question, how do I find that balance between too much exercise and not enough exercise? And of course, yoga is more than exercise. But yoga is great because it moves the body in a lot of places, a little bit of movement in a lot of places. And that sort of is a great place to land when you're wondering about this question of balance. So let's get moving, a little bit of movement in a lot of places. I'll begin with head and neck, which I think we all can agree is a place that often gets sort of relegated to the bottom of the list. And I'm just going to start by tucking my chin and lifting my head up and back if that feels okay for you. And just continuing with this movement, maybe bringing the breath into the equation. Breathing in, breathing out at your own pace. You could continue in this way if it feels like you need more, if you're ready to move the chin to one shoulder and to the other shoulder. We're just moving the head back and forth, side to side, I should say. And maybe you can notice whether it's a little bit more challenging to move in one direction. And if the answer is yes, maybe you could do a few extra reps on that side. Or hold at that side and breathe into it. Very good. We're going to come back to neutral and just tilt the right ear towards the right shoulder, left ear to the left shoulder, and noticing how this feels for you. It might be a really small, subtle movement, right? And I'm trying not to involve my shoulders, although my shoulder kind of wants to lift up as well, because those muscles are attached, right? So I'm just trying to get a little stretch here. Noticing if it's more challenging on one side, which of course it is for me, always. And maybe holding into that side, breathing into that side. Good, and then we'll release from there. And I might just let my arms kind of drift to my sides and lift my shoulders mostly back and down. I take a few shoulder rolls, forward, up, back, and down. Like, see how much the shoulders want to move today without forcing anything. Both feet firmly planted on the ground. And if your chair is pretty high, you might come to the front of your chair and make sure that those feet can be grounded down if you're seated today on a chair. All right, and then from here, guys, I'm going to bring my right arm out to the right with the palm pressing into my imaginary wall, like I'm holding up this wall. And I feel the good work being done there. And I'm just going to tilt my left ear towards my left shoulder. And notice how that feels. And then I'll begin to circle the arm. And what comes to mind here is Karate Kid, wax on, wax off, right? And just noticing how this feels. I might lower the arm a little bit. We're going to be moving down and noticing, moving a little bit farther down each breath. Until we just bring the arm back and bring the head back to neutral. And then from here, I'll go ahead and bring my left arm out to the left, hold up my imaginary wall. See how that feels, right? If you're caring for any shoulder or arm issues, you can bring the arm a little bit farther down. And yep, we're going to tilt the head away, right ear towards right shoulder, and then take those circles. Breathing and slowly descending the arm down. That's good. And then releasing back to center. I'll just take my hands behind my head, interlace the fingers behind the base of my skull, and just push my head back into my hands. And I might take a breath in. And then exhale, release my effort for a moment. And we're going to do one more. Take a breath in and push my head into my hands. Feel the muscles in the back of the neck working. And release. If that felt really good and you want to do another one, go ahead. Otherwise, bring your hands to the forehead. Pressing the head into the hands. Not the most amount of effort you can do, just a little bit. And then releasing. Maybe one more like that. And releasing, and then hands can just be on the sides of the head. Right, I'm going to push to one side and then the other. So I'm not tilting anything, I'm just pushing my head into my hands. One side at a time, twice on each side. That's good. And I'll release the arms down. And then if you've got the block, and you can take the block to the side. And we'll go ahead and just bring the arms out at the sides, right? If you're somebody who would prefer to stand up to do a few arm salutes, you can do that. So I'm just going to inhale my arms out and up and exhale my hands to heart center. Okay, we're going to do 10 of these today. Get the blood and the circulation moving. Breathing in, arms rise out and up. Breathing out, hands to heart center. You can do this with your eyes closed. And really notice what this movement feels like for you today. And if there's anything you want to change about it, based on what you find, go ahead and do that. Halfway there. Breathing in, breathing out at your own pace. All right, maybe 2 more. That's great. And 1 more. Just like that. Hands will come to heart center. I'll rub my hands together. And then interlace my fingers and press the palms away. And then from here, I might just round the back a little bit. And then as I inhale, I'll lift my palms up and release the arms down at the side. And then I might lift just the right arm up and stretch to the left side. Lift the right arm up. I mean, you know what I'm saying. The other arm, and stretch to the other side. And we'll take 1 more on each side. Breathing in, breathing out, whatever pace feels right for you. That's good. And we'll come back to neutral. And then I'll just take a walk in place, whether I'm seated or standing. So I'm lifting 1 knee up at a time. And if it felt useful for me to begin to kick 1 leg out in front of the other, and if you're standing and you realize like, oh, I think I'd rather sit for this, that's always an option. Just getting a little bit of juice into the lower limbs. And then you might, wherever you are, just attend to the ankle on the right side by circling the ankle in whatever way would feel best for you. 1 direction and the other. Yeah, that's good. And other side, circling the left ankle. At your own pace. A little bit of movement in a lot of places. And then I'll place my feet down on the ground. And we'll move the spine a little bit. So I'm going to come into my cat-cow. And, if you're practicing on a mat, you can get onto hands and knees. If you are seated in the chair, we can do this seated on the chair. Right? So if you're on the mat, you've got that good foundation going. And I'm going to begin to just gently round my spine, tuck my chin. And then as I inhale, I'll sit up tall, push the belly forward. If you're seated, drawing the elbows back. Right? Just finding what feels like a really natural movement for you. Don't forget to breathe. That's good, Leanne. Beautiful, Suzanne. Finding what works for you today. Maybe 1 more round, juicing up the spine. All right, and then we'll come back to neutral. And if you're on the mat and you want to take a child's pose, you can take a child's pose. For those of us seated, might take some space between the legs, right? And come to our goddess shape and pull the belly towards the spine. And just for a moment, resetting with 3 breaths. Breathing in, breathing out. Breathing in, breathing out. And 1 more time. That's good, guys. So coming out of child's pose, if you've been there, or bringing your hands up into the cactus shape. And if you've been in child's pose and you want to join me, slowly coming to the chair or your seated posture, we're coming into like a full seated goddess pose. And what I want to do is squeeze my elbows back and release the elbows to neutral. So I'm working that area between the upper back, between the shoulder blades. Inhale, squeeze the shoulder blades together and release. So this is so nice for posture. That's good, Leanne, squeezing those shoulder blades together. You got it, Pat. And maybe taking 2 or 3 more of these. So when we manage this area of the body, we can improve our posture, which is something that a lot of you checked the box for on our intake forms, right? This area, very important, the strength of this area for sitting up tall. Okay, and I might just take a circle or 2 in my chair, and then we'll move to some standing postures, right? So circling the torso in whatever way feels best for you. Yeah, just trusting that your body has the wisdom to tell you what's right for you today. And if there's something that your body wants to do that we're not doing in class, my friends, get up and do it. You might inspire a whole new yoga asana for us. Yeah. And then when I'm ready, I'll just bring my feet back to a neutral position, and I'll begin to transition to a seated posture, right, mindfully, in whatever way feels best for me, right? If I'm coming from the floor, I'm going to do this really slowly by, finding a way to get there that feels right. If you don't want to stand up, you can stay seated. You can stay wherever you are. Right? For me, I'll come to the back of my chair. Right? I took that sip of water, and I noticed some of you were following suit. Just seems like a natural place to take a sip, right? We're coming into standing mountain pose. And I remember when I first started yoga, I really hated this pose because it's like, let's get on to the real yoga. And then the more yoga you do, the more you realize it's the foundational, more simple postures that are actually, in a way, more advanced. Because this posture is teaching me to stay still when I'm impatient or frustrated. Staying still might actually be what I need. So I'm going to notice my feet, maybe take a peek down, lift all 10 toes, spread them wide. Make any changes to the alignment so you feel really stable. So you feel stable, and I'm not going to tell you what that is. I know what it is for me, but everyone's different. And I like to kind of turn on my toes by imagining I can dig down into some sand below me. So my toes are kind of turned on. And then from here, I might close my eyes. And notice the effort throughout my body to just stand. For me, it's mostly in the lower limbs, and I'm really activating my legs and my core, and then trying to find some ease throughout my upper body, like my shoulders, my fingertips, my jaw. And seeing if we can breathe ourselves a little taller. So inhaling and feeling the crown of the head lift. And as you exhale, you remain that same beautiful tall height, but root down a little bit deeper. Right, you can envision all the space to the right of you, left of you, and all of the space behind you and in front of you. And allow yourself to take up as much space as your physical body and your energetic body need today. And I think I just grew 2 inches there. So coming back, maybe you might blink your eyes open and begin to lift up onto your tiptoes. And I might just take a few cursory tiptoe lifts to see how my balance is feeling. And then if you like to challenge the balance, you could take the support away gradually, right? Or if you need to keep the support there to stay safe, again, trusting in that bodily wisdom to tell you what's right. And some of you are moving your arms, so I'll join you because I love the idea of a flock of yoga birds. But if that doesn't feel right for you, don't do it. Breathing in, lifting up. That's great, Joe. One arm at a time. What a beautiful way to make this accessible for everyone. Thank you. That's good, Pat. Maybe you want to hold at the top and get even taller and then slowly come down. That's good. I'm going to take a little space between my feet and take a hip circle or two in one direction. Loosening up the hips, right? And in the other direction. Most of us spend most of our day with the arms down at the sides, right? And thus the muscles along the back here are mostly shortened. So I like to always give some side stretching in our classes. So I'll lift my right arm up. And if this feels okay, great. Or if you want to try something else, we're going to come up onto the right tiptoe. And then we'll come down. Yeah. Left arm lifts, come up onto the left tiptoe, and release back down. Moving from side to side. Breathe in. Breathe out. Good. Breathe in. Breathe out. That's good, Judy. So we're still contact with the feet on the ground. This time, I'm going to lift my right arm and right heel off the earth. This toe is still on the ground. And then I'll bring my heel down, keeping the length in my fingertips. So I feel that delicious stretch. Yeah. And then other side, left arm lifts, come up onto the left tiptoe, and then gently bring that left heel down, keeping the length. Doesn't that feel great? All right, and then I'll come back, and I'll just take a little walk. Strolling through my forest. Later today, I'm probably going to take a walk with Brian and maybe even Lucy. Wow, Leslie, I don't know if I can keep up with you, my friend. It's great. She's got a lot of energy here. Glad that that's what your body is telling you. It's awesome. And it's awesome to go nice and slow as well. All right. Let's get into some yoga asana. So I'll bring myself into a warrior one posture today with the right foot forward. Because I know which side is the right side. Right foot forward and the left foot back at a little bit of an angle. Right? And you could just start with the hands on the hips and one hand on the chair, one hand on the hips. Yeah, that's good, Leanne. Finding what works for you. You might want to bring a little space between your legs, so widening the stance and shifting that back foot forward a little bit, right? So it's not so much of an opening. Yeah. And then from here, I could lift just my left arm if I need to keep my right hand on the chair, right? Or I might lift both arms up for a millisecond. And then release the hands down and back. Inhale the arms up. Exhale the arms down and back. Right? Maybe one hand stays on the chair. We'll do one more lift. And release the arms down and back. Squeeze the shoulder blades. All right. And then from here, I'll just step to my mountain pose. And take a breath. Feel that height increase with your breath. Good. And then we'll bring the left foot forward, right foot back, a little bit of an angle. Bending and straightening into that left knee. So trusting your body that if at any point during our session today you feel that you're being overstimulated or overworked, you can sit down. I'll keep my left knee bent That's good. And I might lift just my right arm up. If I feel stable and solid with a wide enough stance, I might lift my both arms up for a millisecond. Breathe in, get tall. And then exhale, slowly bring the arms down and back. Squeeze the shoulder blades. Inhale, lift. Exhale, arms down and back. Good, and last one. Beautiful now, breathing in. Breathing out, arms down and squeeze. Good, and then we'll step up to that mountain pose. Stepping up to that mountain pose and feeling the strength in your legs, in your core. Energy through the fingertips. Take a big breath in, get tall. Root down a little bit deeper. Another breath in, getting taller, and maybe that's just in your mind's eye. And then in your mind's eye, rooting down a little bit deeper. All right, guys. We're going to come back to a balance exercise that I love. It's this imaginary balance beam. So I'll bring my feet together, take a little bendy bounce, and then I'll step my right foot in front of my left, heel to toe, right? Knowing that I've got this chair here if I need it, or the bureau, or whatever you've got nearby. Notice if you're placing a lot more weight in one foot, and notice how it would be to kind of balance out the distribution there. And then maybe you bring one or both arms to the sides. If this feels pretty easy, you might close the eyes today, or you might simply move the eyes from side to side. That's good. And if you wobble out of it, I'm going to give you a gold star for that, because that is challenging your balance, and that is where we find our room to improve, room to grow. All right, very nice. And releasing out of there between sides, you might walk it out. And then feet together, little bendy bounce. I'll step my left foot in front of my right, heel to toe. Notice where you distribute the weight. There's so much to notice once you slow down, right? And then when you're ready, you could explore balancing on this side. Always an option to keep one hand on the chair the whole time. Right? And if you want to add a layer of challenge, closing the eyes or moving the eyes up and down. Right? Notice what your body wants to tell you here. The body wants to tell you to keep your hand on a chair and keep the gaze down. That's fine. Listen to your body. And then we'll release out of that and walk it out a little bit. Dance it out. If you've got a dance move that you are dying to show me today, yes. Brian and I put on some Baroque harpsichord music the other day, and it was like surprisingly really fun to dance to. So yeah, you know what married yoga teachers do when they're around just having fun together. All right, I love it, Leanne. Let's take a downward facing dog. So I'll take my feet back away from my chair, or I could put my hands on the wall or the front of the seat, or even my mat if I like to do a down dog on my mat. Good to stretch the back body. Right, if you're really tight in the hamstrings, maybe you take a soft bend to the knees. Right, if this feels like too much for you, a soft bend to the elbows. Yeah, that's good, Ted. Breathing into the back of the body, see if you can find the breath there. Taking 2 more breaths. And when you're ready, slowly coming up to the back of the chair. All right, so if you're one of the people who at the beginning of class, we're having pretty low energy, right? Maybe you want to check in and see what your energy level is like now, right? And maybe give me a number or a thumbs up if it's gone up. Yeah, okay, good to see. If your body is telling you it's time for you to sit down and rest, that's an option. We're going to do a Warrior 2 series. You can do that series seated in the chair if you like. There are pros and cons to doing it both ways, right? So seated can be actually a little more challenging in some ways. Standing, we do get the weight bearing, which is better for bone strengthening. So if you can do a standing version, great. If you just need to sit and breathe, that's always an option, my friends, okay? So I've got a little bit of a wider stance. My hips are facing my chair. I'll bring my right toes to face the right, and the left toes can angle in considerably. And then I'll just bend and straighten into my right knee a few times. So if you feel discomfort in the right knee, maybe the angle is a little bit, like we don't go quite as deeply into that. Right? Some of you are caring for knee stuff going on. But I'll bet just by juicing up the knee joint, the knee is already feeling better. Then I'll keep my right knee bent, and when I'm ready, lift the right arm out over my right knee. And this is quite a lot of effort when you are hugging the muscles along the bones and the thighs. And this is how we can get even more of that bone strengthening. Right? Maybe the left arm reaches behind you, or you could keep the arm on the chair. And then we're gazing over that right hand. That's great, Patrice. And I like that adaptation, Virginia. If you needed to, kind of keep that there, it feels good, right? That's good, Mimi. Bringing that back arm up just a tiny bit. Yeah, that's great. One more breath in. And breath out. We'll bring the hands down, maybe to the chair. Straighten that right leg. I'll bring my right arm out to the right with the palm facing up. I'm just going to reach up and maybe back a little bit to stretch the right side of the body. Reverse warrior. And then you might bend into that right knee a little bit. Good. And then we're coming up nice and slow and switching sides. So left toes to the left. Angle that right foot in considerably. I'm bending and straightening into the left knee. Listening to my body today. Bringing that left arm over the left knee. Hugging the muscles along the bones. Right arm can come out to the right if you feel solid. That's great, Joe. You got it, Denise. Okay, turning the gaze over that left hand, taking one big breath in. One more big breath in. Very good. Hands coming down, straighten the knee. And then I'll bring my left arm out, palm facing up. Notice that energy in the palm. Inhale, trace the ceiling and sink into the left knee if it's available. And then we'll come back up nice and slow. All right. Then I'll come around to the front of my chair. And on the way there, I might take a sip of water. I might walk it out. I might do another downward facing dog, whatever feels good. And I'm going to come to sit slowly so I get as much out of this as I can. I might visit chair pose on the way to my chair. Visiting chair pose on the way to my chair. Yeah, it's good, Leanne. Reaching the arms forward out into the ether. sending this good connection to all of you and feeling this connection with you in this moment. All right. Yes, Judy's waving her hands. And then I'm going to come to sit, making sure the chair is there. And I'll just cross my right ankle over my left knee, right? You can do this reclining if you like, Leanne. I'm just going to rub my right foot a little bit. And then I'll come into my hip stretch. So grabbing onto my shin or my knee. Breath in, you get a little taller. Breath out, lean forward, hinge at the hips, or hug the knees in. That's good. So, yeah, that's perfect. That's good, Ted. And releasing back up to neutral. Let's do that one more time. So I'm going to pulse forward. I'm not going to round my back when I do this. I'm not going to just sort of lean forward around my back. I'm going to get more out of it. If my spine is tall, right, and I'm reaching my heart forward and hinging at the hip. Notice if your shoulders have started to kind of creep up, right? And then I'll release back to neutral. Okay, so let's cross the knee all the way over, same side. I'll bring my arms out to the sides, take a big breath in, and twist to the right. And bring the arms down to support the twist, but we're using the force of the abdominal muscles here. Right, so you might gaze over the right shoulder. Gazing over the right shoulder, only going as far as feels safe for you. And then slowly unwinding back to center. We'll switch sides. Coming into our figure 4 hip stretch first. So left ankle over the right knee. Give the foot a massage if it's available. And then I'll grab onto my shin or my knee. And either hugging the knee in or with that tall spine, reaching forward. Keeping the length in my spine and maybe even tucking my chin a little bit so that I have a longer back of my neck, if that makes sense. Relaxing my shoulders. Good, I'll come up. And we'll do one more like that. Breathing in, breathing out. Reaching forward, maybe this time I can get a little bit deeper if it feels okay. I'm not rounding my spine. That's good, Nell. Come on up, cross that leg all the way over, open the arms wide. Right, that's great, Margie. I'm going to take a twist to the left. And then bring my arms down in support of my twist. Right, maybe peeking over that left shoulder. I'm not so much concerning myself with the neck as I am the abdominal muscles and the length in my spine. So finding that breath that lifts you up. Or letting gravity do the work if you're on your back. And then releasing back to center. And then we'll make any other movements that the body is asking for. A nice stretch, a sip of water, rolling the wrists a few times or moving the neck again. And then I'll invite you to get super comfortable. If you need to add a layer of clothing for our body scan, those of you who have the option to lie down for this, you could lie down. Right? If you have a pillow or blanket nearby and you're seated, you can just rest that across your lap. Right? And if you're seated, you might also want to bring some support behind the back, such as using your block to help prop you up a little bit. Right? So taking a moment to really tuck yourself in. Right? Getting all the things you need to be comfortable, to feel supported, to feel safe. And we'll spend the next 10 minutes doing a body scan. And this is just an opportunity for you to bring awareness into the different parts of the body. And we're just going to try to notice, experience whatever sensations directly. Notice if the brain or the mind wants to tell you something about that sensation, and then come back to the direct experience. So the purpose of this body scan is really presence in the body, which can help very much in managing stress. How can you enter into the moment and become more present can help to know how your body is doing. So getting started, I'll find my posture, whatever it may be, and just begin to tune in to my body, and my body wherever it is in space right now, in the room I'm in. Noticing the state of being I'm experiencing. And beginning to bring my awareness to my breath, just tuning into the sensations of breathing in through the nose, out through the nose or mouth a few times. Right? If you're congested, you can breathe through the mouth. Finding one or two just comfortable breaths. Allowing the breath to radiate and expand in the body. And as you release, you might just sense into those areas of support underneath you. Let yourself sink into the support. Taking a comfortable inhale. And as you release, just letting go of all the moments that led to this one. Taking a comfortable inhale. And letting go on that exhalation of any of the emotions of the past. Coming into this moment. Inhaling. And on your next exhale, see if you might lengthen the exhale by just a little bit. Breathing in comfortably. And releasing your exhalation, following it to its conclusion. Breathing in. Breathing out, watching that wave of the breath recede back into the ocean. And allowing the next few breaths to just come and go. Letting yourself settle into the body. And now I'll invite you to bring your awareness to the top of the head. Noticing any sensations in the forehead. Any pressure or any tension in the eyebrows. Between the eyebrows, the area around the eyes, the eyeballs, the sockets. Just moving your awareness lightly to the cheeks, the nose, the lips, and the jaw area. Notice if there's any clenching in the jaw. Moving to the chin. And coming back up to the top of the head once again. Now the ridge of the skull, the back of the skull. And the back of the neck, noticing if there's any tension or pulling in the back of the neck. Once more, finding the awareness at the top of the skull and moving now down the sides to the temples. Down to the shoulders. Noticing both shoulders, both upper arms, both elbows, forearms, and wrists. Noticing the hands, the back of the hands, the palms, and all of the fingers on both hands, each individual finger, including the space between the fingers. Notice if you can feel anything here, any sensations of tingling, or maybe no sensation at all, right? And allowing that to be something that you notice, not becoming disconnected by lack of sensation. As we come back up now to the back of the neck and the area between the shoulder blades, the upper back, the middle back, and the lower back. Noticing if there's any tension there, any tenderness. Moving your awareness up the length of your spine from the tailbone to the base of the skull. Feeling this length and this space in your spine, each individual vertebra. And then moving your awareness around to the front, to the throat, the collarbones, and the upper chest. The rib cage. And maybe you can notice any sensations around the heart, the lungs, without trying to add anything on, just coming back to the direct experience of your middle abdomen. Perhaps this feels like a central point, a center. The belly and the lower abdomen. Moving your awareness to the hips, the fronts and the sides, and the back of the hips. Sensing into the hip joints. And now down both thighs. Just moving your mind lightly to both knees, into the joints of the knees. And following slowly down the lower limbs to the shins and calves. The ankles. And both feet, the tops of the feet, and the soles of the feet. Notice what you can feel there. And then the toes, all 10 toes, each individual toe, and even the space between the toes. And then moving your awareness to the whole entire body, feeling the whole entire body. And letting the breath fill this whole entire body. And with your mind's eye, feeling the space to the left of you, the space to the right of you, all of the space behind you, and the space in front of you. And allowing your body to simply breathe, floating in all of this space in every direction. And finally, in your mind's eye, tracing back to a moment where you took good care of yourself in the past few days. Tracing in your mind's eye for a moment where you decided that your self-care was a priority, and appreciating and acknowledging that as an act of love and kindness towards yourself. And then in your mind's eye, maybe traveling back into the previous few days and remembering a time where you showed kindness or compassion for someone else and what that felt like in your body. Maybe it was just a little thing you did or didn't do. And showing yourself some appreciation for this act or lack of act as well. And then we'll begin to slowly come back into the body, perhaps with the idea to carry self-care and kindness into the rest of today. Taking a big breath in, maybe wiggling the fingers and toes. Maybe stretching the body or moving the body in some way. And if it's in your practice, you might bring the hands together at heart center and join me in the sound and vibration of one single Om. Inhaling for Om. Om. Thanking you so much for your presence and your practice today. Namaste. Thanks, guys. Please feel free to stick around and chat, or I'll see you again soon.